Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I am in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. On that note, let's examine this. Karama, the Great Blade. It's such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze on it for hours. The tip of the great sword, broken. It's such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Karama's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Like a killing swing. That type of swing. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course, the little Mr. Sholmes doll that ours gave us. If for some reason you completely ran out of options at the trial today, then just pull this little early there as hard as you possibly can. Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Herlock's ears or not? Nah, it's alright. This is one of Iris' inventions. There's no telling what might happen. For all I know, it could cause a huge explosion. I am not sure you should be thinking like that, Mr. Naruhodo. Compared to the trial ending immediately after this recess, a huge explosion might be preferable. I'm not sure you should be thinking like that, Mrs. Sato. But I suppose you're right. If there was ever a time for taking a risk, it's now. Here goes, then. I'm gonna do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes? Where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here! It's the Phil doll talking! Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright then, I'll put all my strength into it. Heal! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You taking the ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean he'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Herlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Mrs. Sato, gently with this genius's air, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Makatoba.
You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse at Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket.
But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions out of my name.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we are unable to present any new leads then, I am afraid to say, do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep taking my ear in that mindless fashion.
Whatever was the idea behind making our receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes?
Why the deuce would I know? It's Addis's invention, not mine.
Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have about half that now before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long.
There are times, Mikatoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin.
First, to quest cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be a plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why you are loitering here? Who are you?
My dear fellow, do you not recognize world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you?
Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see great detective? Ha! I don't think so.
Do you see that, Mikatoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Good.
Goodness me, is on a tattoo that says Sholmes.
I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold.
What are you talking about? Leave now.
How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he is a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact.
How could you know this?
Elementary, my dear Mikatoba.
I am sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board, but we know that he purchased a ticket for passage.
Ah, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. He said something about emergency, I think.
What? Are you sure? So Cicero realized that we're after him, has he?
His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please.
No, I have orders not to let even mouse inside.
Mikatoba, be a good man and draw this sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area.
Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right?
Curses! This plan is ruined.
And you only have yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside.
Mikatoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you?
But opening any lock?
Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So, I need to distract that berry seller for 5 seconds, do I?
Good man. So, the game was afoot. Let's see. Maybe if I touch the something.
That's the way back to the deck, but we certainly cannot give up on this now. Ah, the switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewman wouldn't be able to see what we are doing.
Yeah.
Ugh, what is happening? Where is light? Now, Sholmes, now! Nobody there. That was a colossal shave.
Quite a knack you have stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor.
Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach.
Huh. So that didn't work, huh? Okay. Could have fooled me.
This would appear to be an rumble. All hell would break loose if that thing we were to ring. The whole crew would know about it.
In that case, let's leave it behind.
No, I think not. That would never work, surely. I need to concoct another distraction. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Choo!
It sounds like Big Mouse and Trap.
Choo!
I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery.
I don't like the sound of that.
In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a chew sound.
Oh, really, Sholmes? Operator, what sound do Russian mice make?
PP, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikatoba, do a PP this time.
No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution.
No PPs today. Alright, well, you leave me no choice. Strong enough. Here we go.
Here goes then. Pardon me in advance.
Yo, what are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once. Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me, by world famous. No, as I told you.
No, Sholmes, no.
Done.
Not even 5 seconds, eh?
Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikatoba. In we go.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes the simplest solution is the obvious one.
Good gracious.
It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly.
Those clothes on the floor there, they're Cicero's, without question.
Well, it seems we are just a little too late.
Yes, by about 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may, which makes this all the more thrilling. Alright, let's do it fast.
According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asagi's wardrobe.
Indeed he was, and it was of a similar size to this one.
Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? What ever for?
It was the site of my first fatal meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, in you go. This will only take a moment.
Really, Sholmes, surely you could just tell me what you said?
Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer.
I think I'll just read about it in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes.
Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Megatoba, ice. What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks.
Pardon?
Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think?
Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of ravish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Certainly, Megatoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water.
I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. There's a speaking tube here, look. Though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose.
Or indeed so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
But could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think?
Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering.
That's really becoming a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases.
I fear the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination.
What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you?
You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Megatoba, there is nothing important about travels.
It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off.
Alright.
This is the Wister paper basket, look, and there's still rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry. I have discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope only for your work.
Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago.
3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then? When I was still abroad myself.
Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew...
Yes, there was an evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once.
That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown.
Momohiki work trousers, a Tanzan rope, a Haomaki waistband, clearly the clothing of a Japanese man.
And clearly Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe.
It looks to me as they have been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry.
Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps? I'm sure you made mention of packing too few.
I'd very likely drown in one of Cicero's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think. Plenty of reading material to keep passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say.
Tch, whoever stocked this bookcase was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, my dear fellows.
I'm afraid it's just me. But no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible.
I shall leave a copy behind. I just happen to have one with me.
You are a true missionary of the Church of Great Detectives, aren't you? The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see?
Indeed, what you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief?
Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure.
He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late.
I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outer end of the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere.
Talking about this? Alright, well, nothing I can do about that. For now.
All the doors on this vessel have locks, I believe.
A wise idea. You will never know where and when criminals might strike. But of course, to the great detective Herlock Sholmes, lock, bolt, or shirt button, it makes no difference. All are unfastened with equal ease.
The way you go on, you sound rather more like a great thief than a great detective.
My dear Megatoba, as long as there is greatness, I am quite satisfied.
Of course you are.
That's a very sizable trunk indeed.
Caesar is partial to all things large.
A rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind.
Perhaps he'd left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape.
Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside.
Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different, though.
Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to walk through all the combinations at present.
You are still here! Able seemed strong enough. Hello again.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize.
Hey, you're waiting for me?
Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner.
I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you play before. Poor innocent chicken. It's all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon.
Get off! No! Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth.
Kakoi?
I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you?
How can you...
Good gracious.
Good gracious, Sholmes, you mean you've worked it out? All of it?
It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning?
Nothing would please me more. What is this?
We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. The time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago.
That is what I said.
Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
What? Yes, of course.
I see you've noted too, Megatoba. Then please, do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Megatoba.
It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3.
Why, of course it has. Quite. Now all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me.
I think I can manage that.
Take that!
Perhaps you should have cleared away that gas?
How curious that the ice-stream never melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival, with this well-chilled glass in hand.
Get your mind off the refreshment, Sholmes.
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff?
But why would Tsushiro run from us?
Before you consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan?
That's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door, and Tsushiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage.
As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide.
What traces?
I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff?
Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at?
As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice.
Something out of place in here?
That's the key to this, Megatoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Megataba.
No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can uncover the truth here.
Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow.
Take that!
Oh. Mikataba, no games now were my words, were they not?
Come, Sholmes. Where's the funny life without a little fooling around,
Ah, quite right you are.
That was a close save. I'd better rethink that before I am the fool here.
Alright, fine. It's not the mark. It's... Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fine. I get it. It's not the mark. It's the... It's not the bookshelf, so...
Take that!
There we go.
It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as they were put there in a hurry.
Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded, that frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match.
Ah, you're right. When did frame move?
Hardly the most observant of crewmen are you, Mr. Stroganov? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve.
So, Megatoba, why don't you lift the frame off the wall?
That looks like a bullet hole.
What? Who has been shooting walls?
I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff.
Ugh.
I have the distinct impression that you are attempting to shield said occupant.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger?
Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good.
Ugh.
I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time. Aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly shown by...
I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes.
Ah, my dear Megatoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure you'll see it. In fact, I'll put a wager on it.
So to glare at the fellow from all sides. Well, I can certainly do that.
Oh. Aha.
Take that!
It's almost too obvious for words.
Quite. The universal language of the world. Money.
And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Judge Jigoku, yes? Well, so I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you will find yourself accused of being an accomplice.
But
I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Megatoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this bully fellow's armor.
We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible.
You could hardly call this very perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a photograph, is it? It's almost too obvious.
We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. Yep. Simple enough.
You turned immediately to look at this red trunk, didn't you? The truth is, Judge Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is at this very moment doing his best to stifle his breath inside of this trunk.
If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible.
But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination rock? We don't know the 7-digit code.
The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff.
Gulp. No, I know nothing about combination code.
Don't move a muscle, my good seaman.
Huh?
Now, Megatoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth do you expect me?
It's a 7-digit number, remember? Quickly now, we have little time. Okay, so... Oh. 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 Oh, is it backwards or something? It's not Sholmes, it's... I'm gonna turn my head upside down. It's 5 6 3 1 0 4 5. Maybe 5. There's no 6. Oh. So what's that little thing there? Is it a 4? No, it's not a 4. What looks like a 6? I guess a 0 then. 5 0 3 1 0 4 5?
Take that!
No, it's refusing to open.
Tell me, what number did you use?
Well, to begin with, I thought I'd try my birthday.
Your birthday? Interesting, since as of today with that absurd guesswork, you're dead to me.
As much as ever in response, Sholmes.
If you would only look in the right place, Megatoba, the answer would be staring you in the face.
What place?
But if you're having a spot of bother, I always find standing on my head aids the cognitive process. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. So, okay, how close was I? It's 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5. I was close. Yeah, so it wasn't a 0, it was a 2. Really? That's a 2? Really? That's a Down syndrome ass 2, I'll tell you that much.
Take that!
There we go. So close. By 1 digit.
That did it! It's open! You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugene, you have fought me now. Cicero! I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you are not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way.
Well, are you ever going to introduce me?
Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your experts. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my older friend and traveling companion.
A devil is in the details, Mikatoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Sishiru, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Berry? Yes, I have since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I am afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say.
What is?
Well, first-class captains aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it? Eugene, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Shihiru. Ticket. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Odeberry. You are a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be? You came prepared then, Eugene. Come on, let's go.
One moment.
What is it, Sholmes?
Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket.
What is that, Shigeru? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know.
Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. A machine part.
Well, young Naruhodo, I think we have done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant.
Third of November, 12:10 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Kazuma Sogi, I know you, and I know you won't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying.
During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained.
We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection.
No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Renosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony, and there can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There is still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony.
In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, Kazu.
Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Shishiro Jigoku, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper.
Judge Jigoku, you found him? But the investigations of area policing research in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man?
He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions.
Herlock Sholmes?
Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Shishiro Jigoku is the sole witness, who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October.
Whew. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to education at this point.
The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered.
In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side?
No, my lord.
No objections, my lord.
We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. To be continued.
Farewell, friends.